The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Friday, December the 1st. Woo. Oh, give me some Devo. Make it make sense. Oh, man. It's like, you know what? When I hear that every Friday morning, it's like when I was younger and smaller, and my brother would pick me up and shake me, and my back would go and crack, and he'd set me down. I'd go, yeah, that feels good, even if it didn't. I just figured it did. Devo's like a nice chiropractic adjustment. Just it kind of sets the table straight. Yeah,
it's a brain adjustment.
About. That's exactly what it is. Now that it's December 1st, I actually am in a pretty darn good mood today. I mean, because I'm just giving in. I'm just giving in to the most base impulse. I'm going to start singing Christmas songs. I heard this morning, I've already heard, have a holly jolly, and I started singing along with it. I didn't. Yeah. It's like all the crap we hear every year. They're starting Christmas music before Halloween. I'm one of those guys. I'm like, let me have my Halloween. Let me have my Thanksgiving. But now that it's here, now that it's December 1st, I say, screw it. There's no fighting it anymore. It's the holiday season. Let's roll. This is a good excuse to call people I haven't talked to in years when I'm kind of drunk. Hey, man, what's going on? Yeah, and then the next day go, oh, my God, I have to meet him for coffee? What was I thinking?
Right.
At least one a year, every year.
Oh,
hands down.
Yeah, I'm a serial make plans during the holidays. If you can't get out of it, get into it. I leap into it. I cannonball right into the deep end of the holiday season once it gets started. But I do that. I'm a plan maker. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll do that. And yeah, no, I can't wait for January.
Thanksgiving week.
My head in a hole.
Thanksgiving week, family, the Gorman family for Thanksgiving and through the long weekend. Back in Nashville, Tennessee, having fun. On Friday, a friend had a big get-together, and so we went over and saw a whole lot of folks we haven't seen all year now that we're Minnesotans. And, boy, it was great to see them. And, man, after a couple beers did I make plans. And now I'm like, well, when we're all back there together for Christmas, I'm going to just turn my phone off because I think I committed us to a whole lot of things, not just me, the whole family.
Yeah.
And literally, Rosemary, you can't imagine how many times in our life she'll go, are you seriously going to get together with them? And I go, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, my God, I couldn't get you out of that party fast enough last night. Yeah, I'm a serial holiday drinking planner.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And I really want to do it. And I want to follow through. I want to go do all those things. But then I don't know what happens. I, get into my sweats. I can't get off the couch.
Well, one good thing about making all the plans that you can't possibly, live up to for the holidays is because it's the holidays, you always have an out. And that is any number of things like this. Oh, I'm sorry. I was decorating the tree and I fell. I was putting lights on I was putting the lights around the front door on the little A-frame thing over the front door, and the ladder slipped. I'm okay, but I just got to take it easy because there's a couple things that happen every year around the holidays. One, we over imbibe. Two, we make plans we can't possibly deliver upon, and three, a lot of miscues, a lot of accidents, a lot of holiday disasters out there.
Did you break your foot again?
It's amazing how many times you can break the same foot putting up the same damn string of lights. I should get new lights. I think that's what it is.
You got to have the trick back. That one is the best because there's no you don't have to break anything. There doesn't have to be a cause for it or a diagnosis. It's just, the back, the old trick back, can't get off the couch. That's
I have what they call thrown out my lower back before 2 different times.
Yeah.
And it's been 10 years. But, man, it really is. That is the best thing. Actually, no, 3 times. That's the best thing ever because once you've established that can happen, to your point, Zep, I got to remember that one. I haven't leaned in on that one. I don't want to tempt fate by saying, the back is messed up, and then you actually mess it up, and then you blame yourself, and you imagine that you can control things like that. You know how it is. You walk out of the room, and the other team scores, and suddenly you're, a genie that was let out of the bottle. But yeah, that's a really good one. But the holidays, you've got slips and falls. You've got extra. You got alcohol involved, and then of course for the parents of young kids. Post present opening, you've got all sorts of things you can step on and do a lot of damage to yourself. From one single Lego piece to a Hot Wheel to any number of balls that, and in our family, we noticed at one point, hey, kids, stop playing on the stairs with your new stuff. Like there was just, I don't know what that was, but you give a kid a Super Bowl and they just want to be on the staircase with it. All I'm seeing is death and destruction because you're going to leave that ball on a stair and Papa's going to come down in the morning looking for the coffee and it's going to be all she wrote.
I did a big header on the stairs, and one of the girls left one of their dolls, and I was trying to skip. I looked down just as I was going to step on the doll's face.
Oof.
And I did that. Nope, I'm going to make a correction here. Skip this step, put the foot down on the next step at the last second, and I didn't pull it off. And I ended up doing a header, and then Taylor with the doll on the steps, and I'm laying here, and she said, "What? You didn't actually trip on the doll. The doll's still laying there. You never touched the doll."
Don't blame the doll.
Yeah, don't get logical with me. The doll wasn't there. I wouldn't have done the header. But
there's a Twilight Zone episode where the doll trips the man down the stairs and kills him.
It might have been that creepy little doll.
I don't remember that one.
I've never met a doll that's not creepy. When you really just make eye contact with it, ew.
Oh, there was a doll the legendary doll that one of Rosemary's sisters gave our daughter, Marley, as a little girl. And it was, when she opened it, her face was amazing to see because she was like a 3-year-old kid. But then when we saw it, we all had the same face, which was just pure abject horror. It was the creepiest looking doll. And it's supposed to be this pretty little girl in a dress. And she looked like... well, you mentioned the Twilight Zone. You know the Twilight Zone episode where everyone's really ugly and the one beautiful girl is, quote, ugly, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. She looked like one of those almost kind of snout pig faces on a doll. And our 3-year-old daughter was like, ah! And then we all saw it. It's just absolutely awful. The holiday, it is a great month. It is a great month, December, generally speaking, especially as we enter it. But there have been no shortage of holiday accidents, holiday incidents, holiday disasters we've all suffered from. From our dog Rusty as a kid knocking over our Christmas tree, not once but twice on Christmas Eve, to we had a neighbor in Maryland, and just like a bad after-school special, the Christmas Eve house fire. Just the whole thing just went up, and of course, when your house is on fire, you don't care if it's Christmas Eve or Easter Sunday or August 3rd. You're just like, oh, my stuff's on fire. But there's something special about a mishap around the holidays that seems to really fire up the imagination a little bit more than usual.
Oh, I have a good one to share a little bit later on, but I don't want to be the only one sharing a holiday disaster. I know a lot of people have one out there. Get involved on the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. But, we'll get to that. We're working our way there. We have Mike Evans' Hollywood Report. Hell, it's Movie Review Friday. That's coming at 6:30.
Very nice.
Tight. Yeah.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's December. Woo! It's also Friday. I'm just in a good mood all around, man. What are you going to do? Sue me. Go ahead. Actually, you know what? Don't sue me. How about this? Why don't we all kick back and let Mike Evans tell us what's happening out there in Hollywood? The Mike Evans Hollywood Report starts right now. Michael.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Happy December. And is it snowing there yet?
Oh, come on. A little bit before already. Not right now.
Because I just talked to some other people. It's snowing some places. It is Movie Review Friday, and is brought to you by Marcus Theaters. Don't forget, you want to see a movie, the place to see it is at Marcus Theaters. An opening today, Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. It's fabulous. It's incredible. 2 hours, 48 minutes, 4 full stars. You got to check it out. Also opening today is the sci-fi mystery, The Shift. Boy, if I get a chance to go to a movie, though, I got to tell you, you got to go see Renaissance. Just fabulous. That's the movie to see.
Okay.
Let's talk about this. Everybody's talking about it. You've heard about this little 9-year-old boy who is a true Native American and a huge Kansas City Chief fan who dressed in the Kansas City Chief attire, wore an Indian headdress, black and red face paint, the Chiefs colors, when he attended the Chiefs-Raiders game with his dad.
Right.
Only to have the idiot Deadspan announcer, I'm going to call him Karen Phillips, call the child a racist while accusing the NFL and CBS of adding to the racism by showing the child on TV. Made a point of going on every talk show he could the next day, screaming racism against the child and demanding something be done. Well, I'm hearing something will be done. Karen is going to get his wish. The ridiculous accusations have backfired, And I hear the father is talking about a $100 billion lawsuit against Deadspin and Karen and giving the money to charity. What say you about this whole thing?
I think everybody just needs to chill. I mean, the Deadspin writer, clearly an idiot. Because, to your point, if he was saying this stuff about an adult, okay, that's bad enough, without knowing what he's talking about. But to do it for a kid, of course, yeah, somebody. And who's his editor at Deadspin, and who didn't get in front of that and go, hang on a minute. That said, $100 million lawsuit for charity, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. That's $100 million, $97 million of which is going to more face paint and Chiefs tickets.
You know what was amazing to me is when I first saw the story, I thought, when I worked for the Post, I love hockey.
Yeah.
And I used to go to a lot of Devil games, and it's like their colors are red and black, and I've never seen any fans paint more faces at a game than the New Jersey Devil games, and nobody ever said anything about that.
Well, Devils and Chiefs, that's a different context. I mean, clearly, like Devil's a fictional character. You're painting yourself up. But at the end of the day, I mean, this just makes me think about the good old days before there was social media, before you would get headlines from sports writers on things like Twitter, because there were just as many flaming idiots back then, but we just didn't know they were all flaming idiots.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I saw things happen in clubhouses back in the day. You didn't write about them. I mean, why shake things up?
Well, but now with the statute of limitations expiring, give us some dirt, Mike. What'd you see?
I'll tell you off the air.
Okay, fair enough.
TV news, I got a lot of television shows I want to recommend this weekend if you get bored. One is Fargo. Man, I like Fargo.
Yeah, I've been I'm not crazy about the last season, honestly, but I hear this new one's great.
Oh, it's so good. You know why?
I didn't care for the last season either, but this one is really good. Fargo on FX, also on Hulu. And I mentioned it before, but please try to check out Lawman Bass Reeves. Anybody seen that yet?
No, sir.
Mm-mm.
David Oyelowo stars, and David has now come out and said he can't believe that so few people knew and were aware of Bass Reeves. Real quickly, Bass Reeves was a former slave, born in 1838, fearless lawman, and the Lone Ranger is based on Bass Reeves, 100%.
Sure.
Even though Bass was a black man, and the Lone Ranger they made a white man. This series is fabulous. He worked 32 years as a federal peace officer, and is credited with 2,267 arrests, and he was one badass. He died in 1910, and there are bridges and roads and highways named after him in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. I'll be honest, I wasn't aware of this guy either. Paramount Plus tells the real story, and it is really good. Lawman Bass Reeves, 4 stars.
If you want to lead an amazing life with just accolade and accomplishment after accolade and accomplishment, and then be forgotten in history, be a black man in the 1800s helps.
There you go. There you go. Programming note, got something that I'm working on. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're back to MP3s, but back on Thursday.
Okay.
And but I'll make sure you get a report. What are you doing this weekend?
That's a great question. Clearly not much because I haven't even thought about it. You know what I'm doing right now, Mike? I'm being very present. I'm in the moment. I'm on the morning show, and nothing matters until about 10 a.m. Then I'll think about the weekend. But for right now, buddy, it's like I'm flying a spaceship right now. I got to land this thing. The lunar module doesn't land itself, Mike. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Sorry, brother.
All I know is that makes me want to sing. Come on, boys and girls, sing along. It's Aloha Friday. Hey, we're going to play day. Aloha Friday. Minneapolis, Minnesota Vikings. Everybody have a great weekend. Lily Yokalani, Lani, Ani, okay, Laku, and a cock and a arca.
So, my friend.
There it is.
Ooh, that's when the show ends for me each Friday. That's it. I don't know what else you do after that. You're piloting a spaceship. Aloha Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feet up, I think, and going to lean back. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about, but I did have to go back a little bit. Candace, at some point during the Mike Evans report, he was talking about the Fargo TV show, and I just heard murmurings underneath your breath. Beth. What was happening during the Fargo part of the conversation?
I was just repeating John Hamm's voice or name, like.
Oh, my God,
you're
that
chanting
sounds good,
John
doesn't it?
Ham.
You know what
Ham?
I'm thinking about eggs and ham right now.
No, he makes me all warm inside.
You love ham.
I love him, and he's just so great. And it's the first 2 episodes of the new season of Fargo are great.
That's fantastic. I put season 2 on the top of my list I've seen all 4 seasons of Fargo. 2 is the best, followed by 1. And then 3 and 4, both. I watched them. I just could not commit on the same level. They didn't grab me as much, but I'm excited to dig into the new one because of what you have to say, what Mike says, and what everything I've read says is the show's really, really good again.
Yeah, I missed the last one and the one before, but which is the one with Kirsten Dunst in it. That one I really liked.
That's season 2. That's the best.
Yeah.
That's tough to beat that one. Okay, so where are we now? Friday, about 6:38 in the morning. I know what we can do.
What?
Let's learn a little something. How about a history lesson?
Music history.
Okay, Steve.
I love me some Garfunkel and Oates. Sports. Music history, first sports history on this day in 1997. December 1st, 1997. I just got to name 2 names, and everybody that was paying attention to basketball will go, oh, yeah. PJ Carlesimo and Latrell Sprewell. Whew, baby. Golden State Warriors, worst team in the league at that point. They were 1-13. And head coach PJ Carlesimo, not anybody's idea of a friendly sort, pretty brusque manner. He was grilling Sprewell at practice and told him, you need to make crisper passes. Apparently, that's the opposite of a safe word because on the words crisper passes, Sprewell lost it, grabbed his coach, threw him to the ground, and choked him for 15 seconds before his teammates could pull him off the
Maybe
mat.
it's a translation thing. Crisper. I mean, it's...
I tell you what. After the fact, Latrell told journalists, it's all about respect with me. PJ was disrespecting me as a man. You don't talk to people the way PJ talked to me. Somebody was undercoached in their life if they were upset about the words crisper passes. So anyway, the league freaked out, of course. They sent Latrell packing for the rest of the season, as well they should have. Sprewell ended up on the New York Knicks and eventually was pretty much able to reshape his image, amazingly. He was a really good player. But he's still, when you say Latrell Sprewell, for most basketball fans, the first thing they imagine is not the game-winning shot. It's not the three-pointer. It's the hands around the throat of his coach. Tough moment in the man's life. On this day in 2002, Michael Vick of the Falcons set an NFL single-game record for quarterbacks when he rushed for 173 yards. That happened in Minnesota. Whew. Took the Vikings right down in overtime with a 46-yard touchdown run. His shoes ended up in the Hall of Fame.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Good morning. It is December the 1st, and that means that it is the 79th birthday because on this day in 1944, Candace Wheeler's dear friend John Densmore was born.
Oh, thank goodness.
Happy birthday, John Densmore of The Doors, a man we had on the show a couple weeks ago. What a friendly fella he was.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was.
I mean, what if he didn't, what if he wasn't born? That would have sucked.
Well, sure it would have. It would be really weird that we'd be talking about him if that were the case.
A lot less groove to the Doors music, I think.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about it. I wonder if he's cashed the check I felt like I needed to send him because I've ripped him off blindly as a drummer for years. I met Simon Kirk one time. I've met him a couple times, but the first time I met him, I said, man, I feel like I should, cut you a check or just, you come up with a dollar amount because all I've done is rip you off. And at the time, Simon Kirk was playing in Ringo Starr's All-Star Band, and he said, well, just hand it over to Ringo because I ripped him off every day. So I was like, yeah, okay, never mind. Because every musician, you just rip off your heroes till you figure out what you're doing on your own. That's how that goes. It's Friday, December the 1st. It is officially December holiday season. It's all happy. It's all cheer. It's all holiday parties. It's all, oh, my God, it's great to see you. Let's get together again soon. That's going to be the next month of our lives. But it's not all fun and games. It's not all unicorns and balloons and rainbows and fairy godmothers in the month of December. Holiday disasters are just as much a part of things. And we were talking about a few on the KQ Facebook page. Like, this is a classic one. Jane wrote, "My daughter broke her ankle while sledding with cousins and aunts and an uncle on Christmas Day." There's something special about when things go wrong on a holiday. I broke both of my arms on Memorial Day. Doesn't have quite the same ring as Christmas Day, but still, like, you never, like, if you break your arms on May 7th, May 7th might come and go, you won't remember. But when it's Memorial Day, it's like every Memorial Day weekend, my arms have a little, just a little pain to remind me.
Right.
That's how that goes. And I'm sure Jane's daughter, every Christmas, she's got a little tiny thing in her ankle that says, "Remember me?" Yeah, I ruined your Christmas when you were a kid.
The Christmas injury. I like David's. There was this one time back in 1988 at our Christmas party at Nakatomi Plaza. Wait a minute.
Yeah, right.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah. Very good. The Gorman family, we had a busted frozen pipe Christmas morning, 1978. That's a true story.
Yeah.
And this was the first Christmas in Kentucky where everybody was back home. So that was my parents, their 8 children, and a couple of spouses as well, all in one house and busted pipes.
I do remember the heat going out once at the farmhouse, and we had about 30 people over, and you could see your breath in the house, and, you didn't have to put ice in the cocktails, that sort of thing, until enough was enough, and Grandma made the executive decision. We're packing it all up and going 7 miles down the road to someone else's house. But my fondest memory was probably one of our biggest Christmas disasters, and I would have been about 12 when Uncle Frank showed up out at the farm, again, with the entire family, about 30 people there. Uncle Frank shows up Christmas morning out there in handcuffs. And it turns out he had, been busted, thrown in the back of a cop car Christmas morning. While they were wrestling his friend down and trying to handcuff him, they left the car to the police squad, back door open. So Uncle Frank went, I'm just going to run for it. And then South Dakota being the state that it is, someone picked him up along the side of the road wearing handcuffs behind his back and gave him a ride out to the farm. And, of course, Grandma was crying and all the ladies were in the house and there was a buzz and us kids are like, wow, handcuffs. This is like our own Hollywood movie. And the men crack a beer and take him out to the pole barn to cut the handcuffs off. And then it was decided, again, Grandma being the matriarch of the family.
Yeah. That makes sense.
The family decided that Uncle Frank would turn himself in Christmas morning. And then after all that was done, it was time to open presents. And it just didn't, it was anticlimactic after that. But Betty Ann on the KQ Facebook page, I think, wins the Christmas disaster story contest this morning with no prize involved. Let me read Betty Ann's here. December 31st, 2022. So this is, delayed family Christmas due to the bad weather. They're doing it on Christmas Eve, as some families do. New
Year's Eve. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, they're doing it on New Year's Eve, right? I'm sorry. Thank you. Their septic backed up.
Oh, God.
Cleaned up that mess. Husband had to clear the snow away so the septic service could come and pump it out. Yeah. He popped a hole in the tractor tire when driving over a metal rod.
Sure.
Of course. A short while later in the house while getting Christmas dinner ready, husband decides to help by carrying the pot of boiling potatoes to the drain. Drops the whole pot on his feet, gets severely burned, needs to go by ambulance to the hospital where he spends the night. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, no kidding. Merry Christmas. And 2023 is going to be a great year. Oh, my God, that's awful.
That's a whopper there.
On the KQ talk and text line, 651-999 Rock. Tony, we have a text, I believe.
This pretty much perfectly sums up this person's feelings. This is a text from Las Vegas. Christmas just means working a lot more for many. The consumerism of this overblown holiday is ridiculous. Happy holidays.
Oh, humbug.
Wow.
Man, silver bells. Candace, do we have a caller?
Jason from New Richmond, Wisconsin.
Jason, good morning, sir.
Morning, guys.
What do you got for us, brother?
Well, I was about 18 years old on Christmas Day, coming home to my parents' house, and it was icy, and they lived up on a hill at the time. And I took a run at the driveway, didn't make it up, flipped back down, so I decided I'd try again. Well, I made it to the top of the driveway, and my car wouldn't stop, and I slammed into my parents' house.
Whoops.
As my mother came out, it was the very first time I ever heard my mother drop the F-bomb.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Sure.
Yeah.
That's
Man.
a Christmas we'll never forget.
No, not at all. Thank you for sharing that, man. That's I mean, the first time you ever hear, hey,
hi,
the first time you ever hear either of your parents drop an F-bomb, if it's not normal, that's always memorable. I mean, I remember the first time my dad. Thanks for the call, brother. We appreciate it. My dad was a just cursed like a blue. He's a blue-tongued sailor guy, but never the F word. Everything but. And then when I was in 11th grade once, he dropped one like he was saying Albuquerque. It was just so calm. And, I mean, there was a chill went up my spine. I was like, I've waited my whole life to hear if he was ever going to cross the line. And then he did it like he was asking for milk for his cereal. It was really weird. But at least it wasn't Christmas Day. I mean, that would have been, whew.
Yeah, and from
That's
Mom.
a tough one. Yeah, exactly. From Mom.
Mom comes out and drops the Effenheimer. You know, you've made yourself a Christmas memory there.
Oof. Hey, by the way, speaking of holiday disasters, this is a very serious story, and Minnesota is right at the heart of this. There's a salmonella outbreak, not Salmonella, the Muppet character, salmonella, in cantaloupe.
Oh, yeah.
Certain whole and cut cantaloupes, pre-cut fruit products, blah, blah, blah. Big outbreak that's nationwide. But Minnesota is kind of the epicenter with 15 infections so far identified. And, in fact, 2 fatalities.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, and salmonella is brutal. I mean, the best case scenario is you've got diarrhea and real nausea and stomach pain. But 1 in 4 cases end up hospitalized. Yeah. So this outbreak is 1 of every 2 cases. It's hardcore. And again, Minnesota has, now 15 cases with 2 fatalities. So if you got cantaloupe in the house and you aren't darn sure it's part of the recall, that it's not part of the recall, I'd say ditch it, because this is nothing anybody wants to be a part of.
I'd just ditch it. It's a cantaloupe, for crying out loud. Unless it came out of your hothouse, your little greenhouse garden in the backyard. Yeah, just get rid of the cantaloupe, and no other fruits though. On just the cantaloupe.
Just cantaloupe right now. It's that's pretty brutal. There's a lot of things. Of course, you never know what you're getting. You think you're getting a cantaloupe. It could be a cantaloupe with a little something special on there, a little something extra. Kind of like, I just read this too. A jar of cinnamon, just 1 jar of cinnamon, can have up to 400 or 500 insect fragments. Oh. There are ground up insects in all kinds of spices. A jar of oregano could have thousands. Now, these are minuscule, but an ounce of the stuff that's in a fig Newton can contain up to 4 insect heads. I don't make this up. Whoa. There's ground up insects in a lot of the food that we eat. But this is the one that's really going to get you. There is small traces in everything from popcorn to flour, small traces of mouse poop.
Oh,
you wonder if it wouldn't taste as good if it didn't have the poop and the body parts in it.
Well, now the FDA only allows for 5 to 10 milligrams per pound.
Oh, so they do
5 to 10 milligrams per pound of mouse poop. So what that means is there is a woman somewhere in America, and she has friends, and they say, "How's your boy?" or "How's your girl doing?" And she goes, "Oh my gosh, do you know?" She just got a promotion. She works for the FDA, and she checks food for mouse poop. That's someone's job.
Yeah, why isn't it 0? Why isn't it 0 mouse poop? We can't achieve that. There's just too much mouse poop out there. That would be unreasonable to go with shouldn't they label it like, hey, ours is 0%, ours is 2%, but it's going to be a little cheaper for you, and you can make that decision?
I would think.
Yourself?
Here's another one, cigarette butts. I mean, there's a tiny amount of random, what they call foreign matter, that's allowed in salt and pepper and a bunch of other spices that I said, like sesame seeds. But ground up cigarettes apparently can get in there as well. I guess people at the Spice Factory just sucking down lung darts on the shift. They drop them. You never know.
I'll wheel around here on Elm Street. We're over here by Dinkytown. We've got a whole bunch of warehouses and assembly plants along the main drag out here. And, yeah, you still see the picnic tables out there, and they're hitting the heaters.
Sure.
Yes, it must have to have your smoke break.
I go past a work site, a factory of some sort, or a warehouse or a clearinghouse. I don't know. It's a huge building. And every morning around 5 a.m. as I drive by, I see like the same 6 dudes, and they're all taking their break. And and when it's really dark, what I see is just the 6 little torches. You know what I mean? Like in the dark, it's like, man, those guys are out there. They are huffing. Candace, do we have another caller?
Yes, we have Shane from Adams.
Shane, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Good. Beautiful morning in Minnesota.
Is that a left turn or a right turn you're about to make?
Left turn.
All right.
I like that. That's an old school blinker there.
So what you got for us?
Pardon me?
What's on your mind, brother?
Well, I just kind of added the story of the whole salmonella cantaloupe deal. My daughter was actually kind of affected by that. She lives down in Ankeny, which is a suburb of Des Moines.
Uh-huh.
And she came home last weekend during the whole Turkey Day, Thanksgiving deal, and she called me on the way home and says, Nick, I've got a problem. I'm feeling good, but I'm not feeling good. And I said, well, how's that? And she said, well, I can't stay out of the bathroom.
Uh-oh.
And I said, well, then we've got an issue there, don't we? And she said, well, I think so. But, come find out, after we were sitting there, like Friday night, my wife and I have this app. It's called Newsflash on our phones, and popped up in this thing, this salmonella affecting the cantaloupe deal. They said it was pretty widespread from, like, California all the way to the East Coast. And then she kind of read off the symptoms of it, and it was, like, severe diarrhea, bloating, headaches, severe cramping, so on and so forth. My daughter had every one but one of those symptoms, and my wife and I just said, wow, I think it's time to get her into, like, urgent care or to take her to the emergency room so we could get her, hydrated. And come find out that's what it was, and she's been, fortunately, she's been pretty lucky, and I think she'd actually ate her cantaloupe at a restaurant down in Des Moines, and she'd taken 2 bites and said, just didn't taste right. She stopped eating it. So.
Wow. Well, that's really scary. But luckily, she only took 2 bites and then made the call as soon as she knew she was feeling bad. That's a happy to hear she's going to be okay. And that speaks to what we're talking about. You just have no idea where you're going to get it. So I do know that Cantaloupe and Des Moines, both off my list now. So thank you for the call, Shane.
You guys have a great day.
Appreciate that.
No road trips to Des Moines for you? No weekend getaways to Des Moines?
Not these days. Not doing it. Not doing it.
All right, fair enough.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Hey, I got a quick question for Candace Wheeler, if you're still with us.
Yes.
Okay, so would you say you have a good memory, generally speaking, strong memory?
Yeah. Yes. Sure.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm just reading the results of a new study that says women who have more sex have better memories. So, by that, they don't mean women have better memories of sex, but their actual memory improves.
Well, then I'll keep at it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm happy for you that you have a strong memory. That's a good indicator that you're having a good life. Researchers at McGill University in Montreal, they found that women who are more sexually active have much more growth in the hippocampus area of their brains. That's the part that controls emotions and memory. So check this out. The theory is that sex puts your mind at ease, your brain at ease, so it fights off conditions like depression and stress, both of which that have a negative impact on memory. So there you go. I just find that kind of fascinating.
Fascinating.
Yeah. They didn't run the same tests on men because, you can't get a man to be honest about his sex life ever. So, it's just how that goes.
Men.
Men are silly. We're
silly.
Boys are dumb.
We're just so big and strong and ruggedly handsome and stuff. It's so ridiculous. Oh, my gosh. But, hey, you know what we like to do around here is we like to give stuff away. We do it on a daily basis. But we never have more fun, ever. Never, ever, ever have I ever had more fun giving away tickets to cool things than when we play a specific game, and I believe that is going to happen today. Tony?
Well said, you big tease.
Wakey, wakey, eggs and bacon.
Toast. Toast. Toast.
I would like toast.
Toast.
Who wants toast? I love toast.
When this guy put some bread in a toaster, you won't believe what happened next.
You've got bread and a toaster of some kind.
You make me a grilled cheese sandwich.
Your breakfast is ready.
I didn't hear a ding.
The KQ Morning Show presents
All we need to do is beat the toaster.
Beat the toaster.
It's a game show.
Beat the toaster.
Breakfast is ready.
Toast. Yep, it's time again for Beat the Toaster, and you know it, you love it, you might even fear it. It's the Northland's most beloved anxiety-induced game sensation. Here's what we do. We pop a hypothetical slice of bread into the toaster here in the studio. We give you a category, then you name as many things that pop into your head as possible in 15 seconds before the toast pops. Kapow!
Kapow! You know what would be funny one day? Just like instead of 15 seconds, let's give everyone like 3 minutes.
Okay, just let them sweat it
They'd
out.
be just exhausted. People would literally pass out holding their phone. The stress would just overwhelm them.
There's no way we could count that high. We would lose count. What did you get? Oh, I got 14. I got 32.
Yeah, it'd be great. Just, oh, God, I don't know. It'd be insanity. So today, what we're giving away is a couple of tickets to the 44th annual John Lennon tribute.
Yes, sir.
Featuring Curtis A. That's Friday, December 8th, which is, of course, the anniversary of his death at First Avenue. I've never been. I've heard of it since I got to town. I imagine that's a pretty special event.
It really is. I mean, it's just it's been going for so long, and it is. I mean, as macabre as it sounds, celebrating the we're remembering John Lennon, but it's just such a great party. It kicks off the season, and of course, we have so many wonderful tributes that are happening here around town, and it sort of kicks that off. Then everybody wanted to start doing a tribute, and it was fantastic. And Curtis A. is, one of the I'd put him up there on the Rushmore of Minnesota musicians. And,
awesome.
And you'll hear his name pop up a lot in Peter Jesperson's book as well. But yeah, it's a fantastic show. Highly recommend it.
Excellent. Well, in that case, we've got to give these tickets away, and we got to beat some toast. So let's get to it. Candace, who is contestant number one?
We have Dave from. Oh my God! Sorry, we're gonna do James from North Branch. Dave keeps getting disconnected, and it's been really fun for me.
Okay, great.
Dave's a rascal.
So we're going to do James from North Branch.
James, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
Oh, great, man. Are you ready to play Beat the Toaster?
I am set.
I like that. I like that confidence. Let's do it.
All right, Dave, we're going to put this to you. You time travel. It's 1968. You're in San Francisco, and you encounter a hippie. What's he wearing? Go ahead.
Beads. Flowers, a shawl, some kind of strange hat.
All right.
Sorry.
Sorry, sandals came in after the bell, brother. Beads, flowers, a shawl. Is that what I heard? And then some sort of a strange hat.
Strange hat, yes.
I'll give you credit, James. I can see all of it. Every bit of that makes perfect sense.
Crazy hippie.
Yeah, man, crazy hippie. He's also, he's wearing the weight of the expectations of his 1950s childhood. But that's a whole different story. Hey, listen, that's a fine start, man.
Well,
a lot of people start really slow on Beat the Toaster, so you came in running. Candace, do we have our other contestant lined up again, or do we need somebody?
We have Ted from Invergrove Heights.
All right, we got Ted on the horn. Ted, good morning.
Good morning.
Are you in a wind tunnel, sir?
I got a bad connection.
That's better. There you go. As long as you're talking, it sounds good. Are you ready to play Beat the Toaster?
Can you remind me of the rules quick? I just kind of called in, and here we are.
All right. Ted, in the Iron Lung, what we do is we give you a category, and then you have 15 seconds before the toast pops to name as many of those things within the category that you can.
Or you owe us $500.
Yeah.
I think I got an idea of it. Well, give it a shot.
All right. I believe in you. Ted, if you had superhuman strength, what would you go around offering to do as a good deed? Go.
Let's and throw random rocks across the river just because. I would help everyone move, every apartment, everywhere. I would.
Wow.
Right. That last one was a good one.
I like
All
it.
right, the bell rang. By the
Super
way,
creative.
if you had superhuman strength and you helped everyone move, you would be the president of the United States.
You have my vote.
It's the worst thing to do, so that's about the only way I'd do it.
That's fantastic.
I had to help.
There's general just lifting of things. There's throwing rocks across the river and helping everyone move. That's a pretty strong list.
I had to help a friend move. He was a prop comic, and he lived on the 3rd floor, and we had to move, just the two of us, a 600-pound cement cow.
No.
Oh, yeah. Hours.
Oh, my God. I thought Webby's piano. He had a piano that his grandmother gave him. I'm like, can you even play it? No, but that guy moved like every 3 months. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Unbelievable. All right, Ted, good start, especially since you jumped in flying blind. Let's go back. We got round 2 coming up, so we're going to go back to James and see how he does. James, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Round 2, brother.
All right, James, you want to put on some romantic music to set the mood, to make out and get it on. What do you play? Go.
Don't know. Probably something from some Cream. I don't know. I'd have no clue.
Oh, James.
Yeah.
It's not a romantic night.
Just for future reference, just remember the Reverend Al Green. It's never going to let you down.
Okay.
Well, Barry White.
James. Okay. Well,
all right.
You're still sitting on 4. You still have the lead right now, but Ted looks like he's got the game in hand if he can just come up with a couple. So hang tight. Let's see what Ted's got. Ted, are you ready for round 2?
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, Theodore, you work at the mall at a candle shop, but some scented candles are not selling well. What are they? Go.
Diarrhea. Let's go with coffee. Lemon mint. Toilet bowl cleaner. And damn it.
I know
you
everyone
go.
loved diarrhea, but lemon mint.
Yeah,
That's
well,
I don't know. I'm making it
dude, I love it. I absolutely love lemon mint.
which is worse, diarrhea or lemon mint?
I don't know. That makes me gag a little bit. Lemon
Diarrhea,
mint.
coffee, lemon mint, toilet bowl cleaner. Those things all actually go together sometimes. Ted, that's 4 more. So you, my friend, with a total of 7 are the winner today. Ted, you have picked up tickets to see the 44th annual John Lennon tribute featuring Curtis A. James, we're not going to let you go empty-handed. A 4-pack of tickets to the Glow Holiday Festival. Open select dates through New Year's Eve at CHS Field. Gentlemen, thank you both.
Thank you.
Someone's in a hurry to get out of here. All right, you won the game. Now hit it.
Yes, he did. He gunned it.
Yeah, really.
Like Gazooga.
That was pretty great. So it just dawned on me. Curtis A is the guy for his band Wire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kurt Olmsted.
I was just thinking. I was like, wait, why do I know who this guy is? But yeah, of course, I've known who he is forever. Man, that's going to be great.
Oh yeah, he's royalty.
Yeah, for sure.
Around these parts and some others. But yeah, he goes back to the early days of Twin Tone Records. And Curtis A, yeah, been getting it done for a long time.
Yeah, very, very nice.
And a heck of a show, and usually sells out. So if you have a chance to win some tickets, that's the way to do it. Because, yeah, this show I know used to sell out every year. It was a tough ticket to get, and I'm sure still does. Yeah, right. And not just, it's Curtis and all of his friends, just some of the best musicians in Minneapolis all converging next Friday, is December 8th, the next Friday?
Yep,
right.
Next Friday. Man, 43 years. John Lennon was only 40. He's been gone 3 years longer than he was here.
Yeah.
And I tell you what else is crazy to think about, because I spend my life thinking about weird things about the Beatles. He only had 10 years after the Beatles. That's it. It's just the whole thing. Like the older we get, the more we get removed from these events. You look back and recognize, and it's like, man, just think about that. He had it was only a 10-year run after getting out of that mushroom cloud that was the Beatles. Pretty astounding. Like, of course, I was 15 when he was shot, and I was like, well, I mean, he made it to 40. That's pretty good. And of course, now I'm like, I look at 40-year-olds, and I'm like, come on, kid, you'll learn one of these days. But that's how that goes. We were talking about earlier in the show. And this just came across the desk, as they say. Things that are allowed in food that are really gross, like we mentioned, there's mouse poop in all kinds of food, and the FDA do track it. They allow 5 to 10 milligrams per pound of things that you can have a little mouse poop in there. Are you familiar with the salad chain called Chopped? It's spelled CHOPT.
I wonder if we have one of those around here. I know we have a couple of salad places. There's the Leaf and Vine or whatever down in the Loop. No, I've not seen a Chopped up here. I've seen them elsewhere. There's one in Connecticut, however, that is on the hot seat. They are being sued because, and of course it makes sense with the name like Chopped, a woman named Allison was eating her salad, and she took a bite and was like, oh, what is that? And this is real, and this is gross, and you've been warned. She had a piece of someone's finger in her salad. What in the F?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, somebody was chopping up that arugula and lopped off a part of their left index finger, apparently.
And didn't notice?
It was the actual manager of the store. It's not like a mystery. It's not like a mystery they can't solve. They figured it out right away. She takes a bite of a salad. There's a piece of finger, and this is moments after the manager was rushed to the ER after having chopped his finger off.
It's like, that's where it went.
Yeah, exactly. This happened back in April, but she just filed her lawsuit this week. Her lawyer says she's been dealing with stress, anxiety, and panic attacks for months ever since.
Who decided to serve that lettuce and didn't even fish out the face? So she chops off the face. There's going to be blood everywhere. It's chaotic.
You would think.
They rush her out of the kitchen, and someone... what, did someone just walk in off the street? Hey, I'm here to fill in and serve the salad that her finger was chopped off into?
He was busy. You know what it was? The manager, she was just chopping arugula to be placed into for the big bin of greens. So it wasn't making this specific salad. It was just preparing all of the arugula that would be used for many salads. Not that that's an excuse. I'm not defending it. I'm saying, so specifically that's what it was. So somebody obviously didn't, filter through. But, that's what they make strainers for. You want to rinse that stuff off anyway. I don't know. A chunk of finger, though? Come on, man. You got to be able to get to the bottom of that.
That happened. Lunch rush.
Dave Mordahl told me that his mom found a thumb in a Dr. Pepper one time. And I don't know if that was like a bit or
I
the
think
truth.
That's a bit.
Gosh, Dave.
She used it to hitchhike.
Yeah, Dave seems like such a sincere fellow when it comes to pranking with goofy stuff. A thumb and a what?
And a Dr. Pepper.
You know why I know that's not true? Because if you put a thumb in a Dr. Pepper, within like 66 hours, it's going to be dissolved.
Right. They did that with like a Coca-Cola. They put a nail in there, and like 2 weeks later, the nail was gone.
Yeah, I love those. You see, like they take a tooth and they drop it into a Coke, and it's just gone in a matter of hours. It's that's probably not the thing you need to be drinking.
Speaking of gone, we got to get gone. We have a guest coming here at 8 o'clock. Blue Man Group co-founder Chris Wink's highly anticipated second Wink World location opening at the Mall of America. What the am I talking about? I don't even know. We're going to find out here at 8 o'clock. Chris Wink, original co-founder of the Blue Man Group, going to join us. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
You could head out to the Mall of America and check out something called Wink World. Candace Wheeler went last night, I believe. Candace, pretty great.
Yeah. I tripped out.
Yeah, tripping out is kind of, that makes perfect sense to me from what I'm seeing. Wink World is at the Mall of America. And before we go too deep on Candace's experience, let's talk to the man behind Wink World. That would be Chris Wink, one of the co-founders of the Blue Man Group. Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
I am thrilled to speak with you, sir, and I want to talk all about Wink World, but I feel like I have to start by saying the first time I saw the Blue Man Group show at Astor Place, I remember thinking, I don't remember the last time I saw anything so new and original and unlike anything else I'd ever seen before in my life. It was truly amazing. And anybody that takes rhythm and matches it to so many amazing visuals, I just felt like I was home for a couple hours. It was wonderful.
That's great to hear. Yeah, and if you went to the Astor Place Theater, that means I was one of the Blue Men on stage drumming for you and stuff. And also, as a drummer, I think you might have, gotten the show more than the average person, because I started out as a drummer and then moved over into that, and kind of everything I do is kind of like visual drumming, or kind of like making the theater and the object come to life rhythmically, and I try to have that drummerliness infused in everything I do.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's also you try to do that to present it, but internally, if you're like me, there's no escaping it. I mean, I've never had the language to explain how I hear and feel rhythm matching whatever I'm looking at any time. Does that make sense to you?
It totally makes sense. I think maybe there's a brain type or something that sees the world through rhythmic eyes, and catches the rhythm of things. And so, yeah, I totally get it.
So it's pretty special, the Blue Man Group thing. Like, you started as a drummer. You were in bands. You were the guy, like any drummer. You're sitting at a kit. You're playing songs with other people. At some point, though, you recognized, I see more. I've got to express more, and I've got to present more. How long did it take from, recognizing there was something else out there beyond just being in a band to where Blue Man Group was up and running and putting on shows?
Yeah, it's an interesting progression. I think what I realized is that my time as a drummer, being in sort of rock bands, new wave bands, little power pop punk stuff, was really training, but it was leading to something else. I really enjoyed it. And what I learned there, what you do as a drummer, we all do, is we have to integrate the other instruments around us, right? It's not really a solo instrument for the most part, right? We are holding it all together, but we're also making it rock, right? It doesn't rock without the drums, Right. It's a ballad without the drum beat, right? And so we're providing dynamics, and we're integrating at the same time, and, just holding it all together. And that's a valuable lesson. And I think that's kind of what I do. My art form is being an integrator. I pull different things together and bring them together and try to make them kind of pop and become emotional, right? And I just decided to try to do that beyond the drum kit, and I was just called to keep going. And, I have an interest in other things, in design and lighting and technology and comedy and, and art and stuff like that. So it was a way to pull all these different hobbies into like one drum kit, if you will, right? And then kind of play the whole thing. That's kind of how it happened in a weird way. If you think of like the paint being poured on the drum, that was the first moment I was like, wait a minute, I can kind of leap beyond just drumming. I can make the drum make paint fly into the air, put a light inside the drum. And that was kind of the beginning of it right there.
Yeah, for anybody that is unfamiliar with Blue Man Group, it's worth a deep dive. Just get online and check it out. Like I said, one of the most unique and amazing things I've ever seen. But now Wink World, which is at the Mall of America, it's open 7 days a week. This is the next big thing, I guess. I'm just going to read what I just read. It says your lifelong obsession with the power of multi-sensory play when light, color, and music interact in a way that inspires wonder and sparks imagination. And that, to me, is the most, there's nothing better you could present than a sense of wonder and also new levels of imagination for the people seeing it. That is as noble a quest as any I can imagine.
Yeah, that's right. That's the aspiration, and who knows if we achieve it at every point, but that's what we're going for. And I really appreciate I imagine sometimes what it was like going to a carnival or a circus like 150 years ago when when you would kind of have your mind blown by something like seeing an elephant or something. Now today, those things are just old hats. At least they are. We've all seen it. We've seen it on media. So how do you inspire wonder in people who've got these little TVs in their pockets and can see anything at any time? It's a little bit harder. You have to work a little harder and try to reach down deeper and pull things together that haven't quite been pulled together before. So I'm sort of taking what I learned at Blue Man, which is to try to combine things together that haven't quite been combined before and put them together in a using music, that's compelling, And so we've got quite an experience there for people to check out. People so far seem to be responding well to it.
Yes, it's interesting you said that about carnivals, because what I'm looking at and what I'm seeing, it does look kind of like a fun house or the old House of Mirrors you'd see at the traveling fairs, where you're entering a world and you're not quite sure what you're going to get. And the thing I like most about it, and this is something I got from Blue Man Group too, is you don't come up with an answer. You just come up with a bunch of great questions and new pathways to go down. But if there's a point to be made, it's different with every person.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I don't like stuff that tells me what to think. And also, we're trying to make something that's just entertaining for everybody, open to everybody, not one kind of group or anything like that. So it kind of varies up, and it doesn't have a specific style. But I think Funhouse is exactly what we're going for. But applying the latest technology, updating to our metabolism and our the sophistication of just even a 10-year-old has, walking into a space like, an old school funhouse wouldn't be very fun to, my kids, I use them as litmus tests. They're tough customers, man. They've seen a lot.
Well, that's interesting, because through the course of Blue Man Group, you guys started and hit the scene before the internet, and then somehow did the show have to adapt and adjust as information and apps and social media, as that stuff entered the discourse and you had younger audiences? Did you feel the need to keep up, or were you able to just maintain your own sort of own universe in Blue Man Group?
We sort of were able to keep our own universe. Sometimes I jokingly say the world caught up to us, because we had a lot of pieces about information overload. Not a lot. We had a couple of pieces that were kind of predicting where it was all heading. And then, to be honest, we did do a couple of pieces, where we had these giant JiPads that we called them. Like, we're kind of spoofing on when iPhones and iPads sort of became ubiquitous. And so we kept up on the technology side, but overall, the world we created in there was, just this alien universe that just kind of was timeless. I mean, timeless is an interesting thing that you also could understand, I imagine, right? Because, not to harp on the Black Crows, I'm like, sure, every guest does, but creating something timeless is also an exciting thing to shoot for as an aspiration, because, something that feels fresh and resonant, no matter when it was made, that doesn't happen every day, and so that's a great aspiration as well. And I think somehow we stumbled on something that was different enough for the most part that we didn't have to keep up with the flavor of the month, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I saw the show in the 90s, and then I took my kids in the later 2000s, and, they were kids who'd grown up with all the extra stuff, but they were blown away. It really was a timeless, a permanent sort of other state to go to, and I saw that for sure through my own kids' eyes. We're talking with Chris Wink on the KQ Morning Show. At the Mall of America right now, we've got Wink World. Funhouse Carnival Funhouse meets Psychedelic Art House, a show going on throughout the month. You can get tickets. The website is, hang on, I just hit the wrong tab. It's winkworld.com/visit-Minnesota is the easiest way to get tickets for the local show here. And Chris, I got to ask, and because I've wondered about this for years, what did the Blue Man Group think about Tobias Funke on Arrested Development?
Oh no, we loved that. I mean, that was funny, right? And they had even contacted us.
Okay.
A little bit of permission, but we thought that was hysterical. And in some cases, that was people's, first entree into Blue Man Group. That show played around the world, and it had a cult following. So it was an honor to be included. And we thought it was going to be a one-off, and it kept happening, So it was this thread,
Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
Talk about that.
Such a totally wildly unexpected subplot for a show. It was great. I'm just talking to you, and I'm listening to all these things. You kind of remind me of a guy from a punk band that got huge, and then one day went, wait a minute, how did this happen? We were just doing our own thing. And I think Blue Man Group and probably now with Wink World, it's a great example of, by not necessarily trying to do what people are familiar with, sometimes you find your way to, by making it intensely personal and unique, you find a bigger audience. Does that check out at all to you?
Oh, 100%. We couldn't have ever imagined when we started getting ourselves bald and blue and kind of walking around playing around with different bits that we would even make a living doing that. Mm-hmm. And, at the beginning when you try something, of course, it's hit or miss, right? It's not everything you're going to do is going to be a home run or even a base hit. But we loved it, and we loved doing it. And so, we put our heart and souls into it. And, jump cut to, a couple of decades later, even at Blue Man Group, I was so grateful for the ride. But I realized that it had actually reached a point where I felt almost limited by what I could do creatively. And, I still loved it, but it was just like, I decided to pull out of that and kind of start over. And literally, I just took a room in my house, actually the bathroom, because it's a small room, and I made it into an infinity mirror room. And I started dangling slinkies from the ceiling. Then I started motorizing them, and then I started adding music. And then, I didn't know why I was doing it. It was just sort of an obsession. And but just a pleasant one. And then people saw it and they said, "That's crazy! Like, you gotta make this available. Take it to the next level." So it really, I think there's a truth there that if you do something really from the point of view of just loving it, it doesn't mean you're going to get a wider audience for sure, but. I don't know. There's something different about something that's been designed by like sort of a corporate strategy versus a person who's just doing something because they love it so much and they just want it to be great. That's the best way I could describe it. But I mean, you think of a rock band. Sure, they want to be a rock star, but they love it, and you're not going to. People don't realize how grueling it is to tour when when you're not a big band. You're putting up with that is because you love it, right? So, yep. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like you can want things, you can have goals, but if you don't love it, you're on the wrong path, to be sure. Chris Wink is with us on the KQ Morning Show. So now, okay, Blue Man Group is a show. You would walk into a theater, you would sit down, and it would overtake you. That's not Wink World. Wink World is a series. Explain to me and to our listeners exactly what this is. This is rooms that people are walking through. Is that correct?
And nowadays people are familiar with kind of experiential places where people can go. Maybe there's crazy things that you can sit next to and take an Instagram photo of. And I think that's what most people think of when you say, we've got an experiential, exhibit or something like that. And what's different, I think, what we're trying to do is a little different is, yes, pull your phone out. It's going to be a walkthrough experience. It's not something you have to sit in a chair and, it's not. But you go into a room, and instead of it just being, all right, now just take some pictures and roam around, it actually is theatrical. The door closes and there's a little show for 3 minutes, and then the doors open, you go to the next room, and then there's another show. Okay. So I think of it as 7 little shows back to back, which is kind of strange, right? But that's kind of the recipe here, and then that way, when I say show, I mean the lights go down, the music starts, it's all set to music, and all hell breaks loose to the music. So that's really what I do. I'm not interested in just creating a big, giant, Alice in Wonderland mushroom that you can take a picture next to. I want a room that is dynamic, that feels alive, that startles you, surprises you, delights you, and that you can't predict what's going to happen next. And that's where the fun is. You're like, whoa, what was that? Oh my God. Right. And so, I want people to be smiling ear to ear when they walk out because they can't believe, what they've just been through. So that's what I'm trying to do, and that's why we have set it up that way.
Wink World is at the Mall of America 7 days a week. It's located on level 3 North, right next to the Moose Mountain Mini Golf, for everyone who knows where that is. Winkworld.com is the site to go to. You can hit the Visit Minnesota link. Chris, man, it's a long overdue pleasure to speak with you. I wish you all the best here in Minnesota and wherever else you take Wink World.
Man, I can't wait for you to see it, and bring your kids. For sure, and let's hang out sometime.
Yeah, that's funny. You said it's for kids. I mean, all ages would really enjoy it. I really loved it because you kind of did cater to my generation with the trolls and the slinkies and the little aliens. I mean, it was really there's a lot of things from like the early 90s in there, the vibe for me.
Right on. Chris, thank you for your time, brother.
Thank you, sir.
You got it.
You know, this is going to pair really nicely with that new recreational marijuana law. If the bureaucrats ever get off their asses here in Minnesota and get around to implementing it.
I can tell
do
you,
a tie-in together.
I can tell you right now, going to see the Blue Man Group show in New York the first time, and I say this not to be like funny at all, but in all the best, most meaningful ways possible, it was like taking an acid trip, or it was like
you don't need it.
It was like being on weed. I mean, that universe those guys created. If you don't know, Blue Man Group, it's 3 dudes, head to toe painted deep blue, and all you can really see is their eyes. And they would do a show silent. They never spoke. They played drums and they interacted with each other in a way that is it's impossible to describe. You just have to see it to believe it. And it was one of those things where I remember sitting in that theater watching that show, thinking, like being in a rock band that at that time was a very successful rock band, and feeling we're not even scratching the surface of this level of creativity. It was awe-inspiring, truly. Yeah. So I'm sure Wink World is every bit as awesome.
I was weirdly obsessed with them when I was younger. It was the first cassette I ever bought. Well, my mom bought it, but it was the first one that I ever had. I was like really obsessed with Blue Man Group. When I was
It was awesome, and great performers. But the music that they wrote for their shows was raging great rock music. Anyway, really exciting stuff at the Mall of America. So I'm looking forward. I will absolutely check that out.
Absolutely, I will too. All right. Well, we hope you're coming off a great night's sleep. Did you learn anything while you were zonked out last night? That's a weird question, isn't it? But at 8:30, we're talking about an article about 4 things scientists say we can actually learn in our sleep. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's December the 1st. Good Lord, where is the time going? Whoo, baby. I'm more aware of the time passing just because we're coming up on a full year for me in the Twin Cities. And that's pretty exciting. I've had a great time. I just want to say thanks, guys. Thanks for the welcome. And I don't know. I'd like to take the rest of the day off. Is that cool?
No.
I said thanks. What else am I supposed to do?
We'll let you take the weekend off.
Oh, that's cool. That's totally fair trade-off. No problem. We get up awful early around here, and sometimes we wake up and we realize that we've gotten smarter as we slept. We talk about it all the time. Actually, what we talk about is, I feel dumb right now. I need aspirin and water, and I don't know why I stayed up so late. But there are things you can learn while you sleep. This is not nonsense. This is actually now true. Now you can't learn something fresh and otherwise, you can't take on brand new information in your sleep and learn it necessarily. But if you're already interested in something, if you've already opened a door into some new line of thinking or a skill set, you can get better at it while you sleep. This is what I'm trying to say. Check this out. A new language. If you are studying a new language, let's say, like Candace Wheeler, you really want to learn how to speak Italian.
Oh, yeah.
You start doing some Italian lessons. You've got some words and phrases better. You've got some words and phrases coming in. You're starting to get a little bit conversational. If you listen to the Italian language, listen to a recording of what you're trying to learn in your sleep, it will solidify. You can put on a little headset or just put it on the Bluetooth speaker. If you fall asleep listening to the language you're trying to learn, it does help.
That must be why I'm so good at it, because I had a sweet Italian man whisper sweet Italian nothings in my ear all night.
Sweet dreams of Candice.
Boy, nothing's gonna put me in the mood for a restful night's slumber than listening to that all night.
Yeah, right.
Jeez, Pete. What are some Italian nothings? Can you share some on the microphone, Candace?
Ti voglio molto bene perché sei molto bello uomo. Mi amo.
A slice of gabagool.
I'm not fluent, but what I think I heard you say was something about melting the cheese first.
Yeah. Butter before oil.
SpaghettiOs.
Yeah. Wow.
Who couldn't sleep to that? Yeah.
Now, learning while we sleep is not just limited to language. You can also, let's say you're learning to play an instrument. researchers at Northwestern did a study. Musicians would learn how to play a new song. They would play it better the next day if they listened to it while they were sleeping. I will go on the record here and say, no questions asked. When I have to learn a bunch of songs for something, like I'm doing a Golden Smog show later this month. December 16th, Golden Smog. Legendary bunch of fellas that needed a drummer for the night. And so they asked me, I got to learn all these songs. And I've been listening to them, and I put them on when I take my afternoon nap, as I generally do. Yeah. I put music on because I learned years ago, if I fall asleep to music, that music is locked in when I wake up.
Really?
Makes sense.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I always fall asleep to the television. I used to. I don't as much anymore, but I used to always sleep to the television, and then eventually infomercials would kick in the overnight. Mm-hmm. And I'd always want to buy like a set of Ginsu knives,
sure,
or ShamWow or something like that.
It
would be very impressionable.
Brian's having a cup of coffee, looks across the table at his mom and goes, "Mom, I think we need a bamboo steamer." The bamboo steamer was the one when I was a kid. I was like, oh, my God, we just need that. These vegetables will be so perfectly steamed. The bamboo steamer made from real bamboo. Oh, I love that one.
Remember the cap snaffler?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, the thing you would put over jars and caps that would make it easy to come off.
Oh, okay.
Just a piece of soft plastic so you could grip it.
Yeah, that's
give it
right.
a cool name.
What was it called?
The cap snaffler.
Snapfler.
Yeah.
How do you spell snap? What are you saying? Snapfler?
You got me, yeah.
Oh, man. It's
crazy.
Like, that is kind of crazy. Here's something else you can learn in your sleep. You can learn that smoking is really gross. This is kind of interesting to me. Some researchers, some smarty pant guys in white lab coats, they exposed smokers to two different smells during the night. So you're a smoker, you're asleep, and in your room, they would put in the smell of cigarettes and the smell of rotten eggs. And your brain would link those two. A week later, the average person in that study was smoking 30% less.
Oh, wow. That's a big number.
Yeah, that is a good number. I mean, it totally checks out to me.
Yeah, but it's going to ruin your taste for rotten eggs, though.
Well, that's true. There's only so much sulfur a man can choke down in a day. Just saying.
I ruined a baseball mitt that way. My brother threw an egg at me he found in the yard, and I caught it with my baseball mitt, exploded in my baseball mitt. And you can't get that stink out of leather.
But it softened it up, though.
No. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Here's another one, and this is an important one for me because, man, I'm the worst at this. The names of people you just met, you can do better at that here's this. People last year, there was a study. They had people try to memorize names, and then after giving people a bunch of names, one group would go take a nap and the other wouldn't. The ones who slept did better when they had to remember the names again. That seems like a convoluted way of saying everything in your brain's better with a nap. Because, you could probably say, like these are things I have to do in a day. I got to remember names. I got to learn new songs. I got to brush up on my French. And I take a nap every day. And I can't really say that, well, the songs help, but the name thing, screw it. There's no way. I've tried every device that's ever been offered on how to remember people's names better, and I just can't seem to just bridge that gap. There's a thing between me meeting you and being genuinely pleased and loving our conversation and then having no idea what your name is 2 minutes later.
Right. And or meeting the person again recently and everything about your interaction. You're happy to see them again. But not being able to remember the name, and it all goes to hell when you know what, I'm sorry, I don't. Oh, you don't. It's like you just walked up and slapped him across the face. No, I just having a hard time placing your name. I used to always just guess. I thought it was funny, but almost no one else ever did. Mike. No, it's Rick. Oh, right.
It took me years to just get to the point where I'd go, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Just say it. And then... Yeah. And then that's embarrassing, and I feel like an idiot and a jerk and a bad human. And then when I do that, then the name sticks. It's like, so there has to be some, what is it? Self-flagellation. Yeah. I have to, bow down and talk about how horrible I am. And then my brain works great. That might say something about my childhood. I'm not sure.
I'd stick with the naps. That seems like a better way to remember than self-flagellation.
Hey, listen, I'd love to finish this conversation, but because it means a lot to me, I'm going to go take a nap and come back, and then I'll remember everything you've told me up to this point. That'd be great.
No, you won't.
No, I really won't. I would love to say I'm getting better. No, it really is a thing. And I do the thing when I meet someone. I mean, if it's a handshake, I look them in the eye and I'll say, "Hey, what's up, Mike?" And then in my mind, I'll picture a microphone. They say make a mental image that goes with that name, whether there's a previous connection or not. You know, like if they say if you meet Cindy, then just picture a Coca-Cola bottle. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it makes sense in a linear fashion. You will just have something to grasp onto, and it just does not click, man. I'll remember where you're from. I'll remember everything we talked about. I'll remember where you went to college. I'll remember all the points of our conversation. But the name is just a difficult thing for me.
Well, I mean, it's not just you. It's a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Names are difficult. It's just hard to place. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to try and remember names, too. And, just try and be more memorable. Maybe if you were more memorable, Steve would remember your name.
Wow. Okay.
Say, volley that sucker right back across the net at him. Well, just be more memorable then. Tell him.
Hi, I'm Steve, and the pressure's on you to make sure I remember.
Yes, your name.
You can learn a lot about. Here's something you can learn a lot about. You can learn a lot about guys if you simply live with them for a little while. If you grew up in a house without men or boys. Apparently, word on the street is it can be pretty traumatizing once you realize what it's actually like living with us. I'm loud. Everything I do is loud. Like I shut cabinets loudly. I set bottles down on the countertop loudly. Everything I do just makes noise. And I, for almost 30 years now, I've been married to a woman who really doesn't like noise. And I'm not sure how we've made it this far now that I think about it out loud. But I grew up in a house, 8 kids, 6 of which were boys. She grew up in a house, 7 kids, 5 of whom were girls. And the first time I started hanging out at the Priola house in Birmingham, I was like, man, can someone make some noise around here? Like, why am I talking like this? Why are we all so quiet? What's going to happen?
Eggshells.
Oh my gosh! It wasn't that there was tension in the house, but it was just so quiet. I was like, man, you guys are Italian. Like, why doesn't anyone yell around here? What's going on? It was so quiet. And then the first time Rosemary hung out with a bunch of Gormans, I mean, she lasted like 11 minutes, and she just like walked out into my brother's front yard. She just walked out of the house like, oh, my God, I can't. I'm having a breakdown here. I'm shutting down.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, man, it's funny. 30 years in, she still looks at me and she goes, "Do you hear how loud you are?" And I'm like, no, well, obviously not. I don't. No.
You talk about what women learn about men. Both my girls, I just had 2 daughters, right? So in their very young years, there weren't guys around. It was just dad, and dad acts like dad. He doesn't act like your typical guy. But I remember Taylor going off to school for the first time and coming home. I'm like, "Well, what did you think?" She said, "Dad, boys are awful." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. You haven't spent a lot of time around," because they had nothing but girls in our little neighborhood. We called it this little Pinkville. There were pink Barbie Jeeps everywhere. But I'm like, "Yeah, they're awful. You just wait. It doesn't actually get any better." But you talk yourself into it over time that, I better hang out with one of these idiots.
I really annoyed my wife to no end when the babies came, because both times we brought new babies home, at some point within the first few months, we would have the conversation where I fully understand as a new mom and you're breastfeeding, you can feel kind of trapped and tied down. Like no matter when the baby's hungry, whatever you're doing stops and you just sit there, you got to nurse. And that's the natural order of things. But at the same time, there are moments when it's like, oh my God, I just feel like I can never get anything done. And I would look at her and go, this is why this is all wrong. Men should do this. I will sit here and stare at the TV all day happily. If I don't have to do anything but hold that baby to my chest, are you kidding? The World Cup's happening. I would love an excuse to sit here and stare at the TV for 12 hours a day. If you bring me nachos every 6 hours, I'll never move. I will never move. And the baby will be fed, and you can go off and have fun. And I would say all that, and somehow it didn't ring in her ears quite the way it rang coming out of my mouth. She wanted to just choke me out. But I was making the truth. I was like, man, dudes will sit sit and stare at TV or at a Game Boy. I'm so content to just go off to Neverland at any opportunity.
Do you ever sit with holding your baby and you happen to have your shirt off and they latched on?
Yeah, try.
Yeah, it's weird.
Certainly did. It is a strange moment, yeah.
Strangely titillating.
Just boy, really what you feel is, this baby is 4 weeks old. I'm already a letdown. I'm already a disappointment as a parent.
Look at you. Come on.
Yeah, this is terrible.
I know. If they just would have got to me at this age, but they're really coming in. I've got a nice B cup going here, I think.
Nice.
Hey, you guys, I think we should circle back to this Christmas tragedy thing. Not tragedy, well, just disasters. I'm thinking tragedy because of John Erickson posted on the KQ Facebook page that when he was a child, this happened. I had no idea that this story ever happened. You talk about the Thanksgiving turkeys being tossed from the WKRP helicopter.
Sure.
For the love of God, I thought turkeys could fly.
Right.
This one involved Santa. Well, that's all I'm going to say about it. We'll come back to it. By the way, if you have a Christmas disaster, something that went terribly wrong during the Christmas season, please give us a call. We'd love to hear from you, or jump on the KQ Facebook page. Our talk and text line, 651-989-ROCK. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
Van Halen with I'll Wait. Van Halen, early in their career, they were the band nobody wanted opening for them. Black Sabbath learned that lesson first and most famously. One of the last tours with Ozzy, late 70s, Black Sabbath was teetering on the brink. And every night they had to get on stage after Van Halen had just destroyed the room for 60 minutes. David Lee Roth still trying to prove himself. Eddie Van Halen being Eddie Van Halen, and a great rhythm section. They were like, you were crazy if you let Van Halen open for you back then. And I'm just thinking about this. Famously, Journey took Van Halen out for an opening slot. And they were bumping heads, and Journey wasn't thrilled about the fact that Van Halen was just smoking them every night as the opening band. And it all came to a head. They played the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, right outside of Los Angeles. The Rose Bowl, epic stadium. Journey is at their apex. And up to that point, and they've got like a couple other bands on the bill to fill out the stadium. You need 3 or 4 bands for a stadium show. It doesn't matter who were the first couple bands. Van Halen's going to go on right before Journey. This is supposed to be Journey's crowning achievement, and this is what Van Halen did. They parachuted into the gig.
I remember reading about this.
Van Halen. Before the show, it's like, where's the band? It should be time for them to start. And a plane is circling over the Rose Bowl. And a voice comes over the PA and it says, hey, traffic was terrible getting out here. The band's running behind. This is the only way they could make it on time. Look up. And 60,000 people look up. And here's this plane and four dudes jump out of a plane and they come parachuting down, and the crowd is going like nuts. Like, wait, there's no way that's them. Well, okay, truth be told, it wasn't the 4 members of Van Halen. It was 4 skydivers all wearing matching jumpsuits and wigs who looked like the 4 members of Van Halen.
Yeah.
And they landed in the stadium backstage. And they had they landed in a very specific spot, one after the other. Right. They were immediately surrounded by, back then there's no iPhones, people don't have cameras. It was easier to hide things. When the 4th guy lands, they wait a few seconds, and then the actual 4 members of Van Halen in the same jumpsuits who look just like the 4 guys that parachuted, they run out onto the stage.
Wow, that's brilliant.
I mean, before they played a note, they had buried Journey once and for all. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, you want an entry? We'll give you an entry. That's just the greatest thing ever. But of course, it could have gone wrong. You know, of all the times for there to be a parachuting accident, what if a stadium of people were like, I just watched David Lee Roth fall to his death?
Oh, man. Yeah, that would have been a story for the ages then, for sure. Yeah,
could have been kind of rough. But and I was thinking of that, Zep, because you mentioned there was we started the show today talking about it's the holiday season, and sometimes things don't go as planned. A lot of holiday miscues, holiday injuries, holiday tragedies. Now we were talking about like I broke my ankle sledding, the Christmas tree lights had a short, and my tree burned. Those were what we were talking about tragedies. But there was an actual, honest to God, holiday tragedy you just referenced.
Yeah, John Erickson posted this on our KQ Facebook page asking for these holiday tragedies. December 1965. By the way, John writes, Santa's parachute parachuted in when I was a child. True story, 1965. One of these stunts, Santa's going to parachute in, come right down from the sky, and he has a helper with him. Bill Fleming is playing the part of Santa's helper that day, 29 years old, and he jumped at a very low altitude. And I forget why in the story they jumped at just 3,000 feet, but he did make that low jump. And his chute didn't open. He got tangled up in it, pulled the reserve chute. That doesn't open either. Oh. The kids are all out there around the shopping mall.
No.
Kids, if you'll turn your attention, here comes Santa with his helper right down to earth. A fun little stunt on Santa Roman candles, as they call it in the biz. And whammo, lands in someone's backyard and leaves a 1-foot crater. You know,
my gosh.
Yeah, tragedy. This is tragedy, not a disaster, but pure Christmas tragedy as the kids watch. And then they had to tell the kids, oh, it was just a dummy. It was just a fake Santa, to try and cover things up like that. But, yeah, Bill, that was his last jump, 1965.
So, hold on. So Santa Claus, obviously I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah.
Santa Claus parachuting down and the chute goes. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a 1 in a million. It's probably more. What are the odds of a chute not opening? 1 in 100 million. I mean, people skydive every day quite safely and without anything. But of course, Santa Claus. But go back to the Van Halen show. What if it had been? Now in my mind, I'm picturing David Lee Roth dressed as Santa Claus parachuting out of a plane. Which, if you saw that happen, you wouldn't think twice. You'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. I can see David Lee. Santa Roth. Not. He's combining. He's got the menorah and the elves in his bag. He's just combining the two things. Man, what a could you? All the kids, they're waiting to see Santa. I mean, it's bad enough when you take your kids to see Santa Claus and he's just drunk.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like the Coyote and Roadrunner.
Bong. A little puff of smoke from Tweety Birds around the head.
I hope as he was falling, at least he had the good sense to be going, ho, 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 ho. I mean, something.
Oh, yeah. It's on the KQ Facebook page. I just kind of read through it, so I was paraphrasing. I don't know if it was Bill Fleming was the one. One of them ended up surviving, and the other didn't, obviously. And
I've never heard ho, ho, ho with the Doppler effect, but boy, let me tell you, once you do.
Oh, I bet he was making some noise coming down. I bet it wasn't ho, ho, ho.
Boy, the old days when we just didn't double check things. You know what I mean? It was just the 60s. I mean, I was born in 65, so that's that's my lifetime. We were still winging it a lot more than we do these days, to be sure.
Oh, yeah, to be sure. You brought up Ozzy, Van Halen opening for Ozzy, and he learned the hard way that you don't have Van Halen open for you at any point in their career. Did you catch any of the Osbournes podcast this week?
No.
They had? You didn't hear anything about how Sharon and Kelly would deal with his drug use back in the day?
I did not.
All right. Well, this story just breaking. Kelly Osbourne talked about what her and her mom once did to a bag of his marijuana when they found it. They did not want Ozzy smoking pot.
I found it. I came to Mom, showed it to her, and then she's like, Kelly, do you need to go to the toilet? And I said, no, I'm not doing this again for you. I'm too old now. I'm not going to in Dad's drugs. And so she in it, and it was in a tiny Ziploc bag, zipped it back up again and put it back. And then when he found out, he went nuts and chased us down the hallway.
Yeah, they used to crap in Dad's pot.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow.
Rock and roll! That doesn't...
I kind of love it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, Candace, you really are the lost Osbourne child.
Sharon also had a unique way to deal with Ozzy's drinking, saying one time she got a bottle of his brandy and rubbed it around her butthole. And then he took a swig, and when he went back again, he looked at her and said, "You didn't." And she said, "Oh, I did."
Oh my God.
You didn't. Oh my God.
Yeah, crapping in the pot.
They don't make them like that anymore.
That's love.
What a sweet family.
Man, that's something.
That's the Osbournes for you. All right, I kind of jammed that story in there. Sorry.
My
about
favorite Sharon Osbourne moment was when, for a brief period of time in the 90s, she managed Smashing Pumpkins. Very briefly. And they didn't fire her. She fired herself. And she said in an interview what happened with Smashing Pumpkins. And she said, "I had to leave for health reasons. Billy Corgan was making me sick."
Oh, man.
Absolutely fantastic. Hey, you know what I just saw, too? I'm glad I just remembered this. You may be aware of this, Candace, but you certainly don't remember it. The show from the 80s called L.A. Law. L.A. Law was a nighttime weekly soap opera about lawyers in Los Angeles, and it starred, most importantly to me, Lori Partridge, Susan Day from the Partridge Family in an adult role as a lawyer, Harry Hamlin, Corbin Burnson, Jimmy Smits. I mean, and it was a huge show in the late 80s. It won Emmy Awards every year. Well, it's never been seen. No one's collecting old DVDs and VHS tapes, but just recently, Hulu finally pulled it up, and Hulu has put all, 170 or so episodes up, so you can go back and check this show out for the first time. And I saw an article in the New York Times discussing the fact that L.A. Law, for millions and millions and millions of people, is for the first time something they can go watch. So the New York Times, their style section, they got some of their younger writers, women in their 20s and 30s, to watch L.A. Law and just said, "What do you think?" Because it's a pretty good time capsule type of show for the mid 80s in LA. And they interviewed these three younger women about watching this show from the 80s. And there's just so many funny lines. And the first one, one of the writers, her first question was, "Did anyone else notice all that saxophone and silk?"
So true.
Another one, "Sorry, I was too busy learning all about smoking indoors."
Yes.
Car phones. "Please bring car phones back, if only for the aesthetic."
Yeah, right.
This is a good one. "Buzzed driving apparently was not drunken driving in the 1980s.
Yeah.
True statement.
Yeah.
Very true. And then my favorite was this. One of the writers goes, "People running around with manila envelopes and little slips of paper that say who called. Literally unimaginable, too cute for words. Did people realize how adorable they were being?" Handing a piece of paper to someone, "Here's your list of calls for the day."
While you were out.
Yeah, there wasn't anything adorable about it then. It was just, doing your job or helping out, passing along the message. That show was, because that was back when, obviously, the 80s, 90s, anytime before that, if there was a big hit show, everyone watched it. So that was that was the water cooler show there for a while, because everyone was so incredibly good looking, and it was a bit more clever, because some of the old ones, Falcon's Crest and that Dynasty, those that just faded out and gotten a bit old, and that was a hot show, man. But yeah, it had to obviously just smack of just 80s.
Oh, and there was, for anyone my age, like, again, to see Lori Partridge on TV again was just like thank you, God. She's back. She's hotter than ever, and she's a high-powered attorney. It was fantastic.
I always felt like it was the evolution of her character from the Partridge Family. Smart, a little bit downplayed, with a dry sense of humor.
Sure,
and now she had received her law degree, gotten out of that damn band.
Well, she learned from Reuben Kincaid.
Yeah, well, when you've got a mentor like that. One thing that was funny, Candace and I went to see the David Fincher movie last month called The Killer, his newest film. And it's about a hitman, and he's got 1 million fake IDs and fake passports, and all of his false identities are 70s and 80s TV character names. So there's a scene where he presents a passport and to get his ticket at the airport, and the woman's like, "Have a good flight, Mr. Kincaid," because he's Reuben Kincaid in that scene. And then he's Lou Grant, and then he's Archie Bunker. And my son watched the movie, And because it's on Netflix now. He was watching it last week, and I said, "Did you pick up on any of those his identities?" He goes, "No. What do you mean?" I go, every time they show his passport, it's a different name." He goes, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh my God, you don't know who?" I said, "Every one of those names is a massive television character from the 70s and 80s." And then he laughed right away. He goes, "Oh man, I had no idea." Went right over his head, of course, because he wouldn't have known, but.
Yeah,
anyway, I was Reuben Kincaid. That was a hotel touring name for me for one tour.
That's great.
Yeah,
that is a good one. You're lucky you didn't get a Reuben Kincaid stalker. Just some middle-aged woman out there. Oh my God, Reuben Kincaid!
The Black Crowes are managed by Reuben Kincaid. No wonder they're doing so well.
No doubt. Listen, you've got a concert announcement to make here, Mister. Let's save it for 9:30. A classic rocker coming to the Twin Cities.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Yeah. But thank you. There's one thing that can't wait. I'm sorry. Yeah. And thank you for reminding me. Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea. It's back for its 5th installment. We're going to send a winner and a guest on a sold-out voyage. You're going to sail from Miami to Cozumel on the Norwegian Pearl for a 4-day adventure combining the best rock and roll, wrestling, comedy, live podcasts, paranormal explorations, and all-around outrageous moments in the middle of the ocean. If you want to get a ticket with a pass to Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea, text the national keyword Rager to 95819 right now to enter for your chance to win.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Listen up. Monday, April 1st at the State Theater. Peter Frampton. The Never Ever Say Never tour.
April 1st.
Yeah, April 1st, man. And that's not an April Fool's joke. I'm telling you. Tickets will go on sale a week from today at 10 a.m. Next week on KQRS all week, we will be giving you a shot to win some tickets before they're on sale. Peter Frampton, the Never Ever Say Never tour. Funny thing about Peter Frampton, you know what he calls me?
What?
Steve, we're friends.
That is funny.
I'll tell you, I saw him in 2018 for the first time, and the last time I saw him was in 2018 at an outdoor festival. So I went because there were a variety of artists there I wanted to see. A little lukewarm on Peter Frampton. I just, whatever. I remember I traded his poster out of a Teen Beat magazine for a lunch from Julie Minema one day on the bus, but just never, got into the whole Frampton thing.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, one of the best shows,
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't seen him live, if you've listened to Frampton Comes Alive or whatever, wow, what a show. Totally blown away. I'll be there April 1st.
I want to know more about Julie Minema.
First of all, rocking the bell bottoms, skin tight.
Oh, sure,
exactly.
yeah.
I needed a shoehorn to get into those things. And just about 2 years older than me just when I hit puberty. I was all about Julie Minema. Huge crush. Just, big doe eyes watching Julie Minema's every move on the bus.
My Julie Minema was Sherry Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sadie Hawkins dance. I'm an 8th grader. She's a sophomore.
Yeah.
And she asked me to dance. And boy, did she get more than she was bargaining for, because she left that dance that night with a puppy dog on a leash.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and Julie, she had offered me her lunch. She goes, I'll give you my lunch for that Peter Frampton fold-out poster in the middle of my magazine. I would have given her that magazine and everything I owned. But get a lunch in it. I don't even know if I ate it right away. I think I just smelled it because the bologna sandwich smelled a little bit like, I'm just getting weird now.
What a creep.
I am still a creep.
10 years ago, 2013, the Black Crowes were on the road all year. That was my last tour with the band, and we played the Ryman in Nashville. We did 2 nights, and the second night was mostly acoustic, and we had a ton of friends sit in with us. The guys from Old Crow Medicine Show, some BR549 guys, just a series of musicians from a bunch of different genres. Sam Bush, one of the greatest bluegrass musicians on earth. I mean, it was amazing. But the first night of those 2, we had one guest sit in on the electric night, and that was Peter Frampton.
Nice.
And he came down to sound check, which that alone sets him apart from every other icon you'd ever meet. He was like, oh, no, I'd like to sound check. We're like, you do? Usually they just show up, you plug in an amp, and they don't care if it sounds good or not. They're just going to let it rip. But we were at sound check, and he plugged in, and I'd already met him a few times. Super friendly guy. I mean, he's a great dude. But the second we started playing and I heard his guitar in my monitor, I mean, instantly like that, it was like, oh my God, that's Peter Frampton,
right.
you know, and to your point, Zepp, like you went to see him and didn't expect much. I was blown away by how much I had discounted that he's one of those players, instantly recognizable, instantly unique and iconic. His tone, his feel, his phrasing rhythmically around the rest of the band. I mean, it was, if I was blindfolded and you said, who's this guitarist? 4 seconds in, I would have gone, that's Peter Frampton.
Yeah.
Yeah, phenomenal. And he played amazingly at soundcheck. He takes very seriously his sound and everything. And then that night, man, he literally blew the roof off the joint. I mean, he played 4 songs with us. And when he left, I was like, well, this gig's going to suck for the rest of the night because, man, did he raise the bar. Anyway, all that to say, April 1st at the State Theater, I do know where I will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably sitting right in front of me, and you'll be tall, and I'll be like, God, I can't take your cowboy hat off, Gorman.
That's how that works. Quick question about sandwiches. Do you guys, do you cut them? When you make a sandwich, do you cut it? And then B, how do you cut it?
Yeah, I cut it when I cook it. So grilled cheese.
Okay.
Cut, and then a diagonal, of course, because I'm civilized.
Not diagonal.
Sophisticated. Diagonal.
You don't go diagonal, Tony?
No, kind of on purpose. I go in the middle.
Imelda Gorman was a middle cutter herself. And so I grew up with this notion that the diagonal cut was fancy.
Yeah,
my mom used to do that for me. I loved it.
That mom was a diagonal cutter, too.
Far more Americans cut their sandwiches diagonally than straight down the middle. I'm amazed to hear that, but I still cut sandwiches down the middle, and then every now and again I go, "Oh, I can cut it diagonally if I want," and then I get excited, and then I forget all about it next time I make a sandwich.
Yeah, it's fancy. Yes. You're right.
Yeah, you do it accidentally. You cut down the middle accidentally. Tony cuts down the middle on purpose.
Yep, to be different.
He goes in knowing he's going to cut. My mom used to do it diagonally, but here's the thing: only for me. The other 2 kids down the middle.
You were fussy.
Wow.
No, I was the firstborn. Everyone knows the firstborn is the favorite child of the family.
I don't cut my sandwiches. I like them uncut.
You know what?
What are we talking about?
More often than not, I too choose to not cut my sandwich.
Yeah, most of the time I don't cut a sandwich. Just dig in, go nuts.
I really go for it.
Yeah, sometimes it's like a big thick. Sometimes I'll just get carried away making a sandwich, like 4 layers of tomatoes, 5 layers of meat, all the cheese, everything.
I'm so hungry.
Then sometimes you got to cut that just to handle it,
Hey, did you ever know anybody who wore their watch where the face was on the inside of the wrist?
What?
All right, that's like me. That's the same way Tony looked at me when I said I cut my sandwiches diagonally. I'm rolling my eyes.
That's another one of those things. I've only known one person my whole life, and he was my French teacher, Mr. Baker, and later became the principal of the school. Mr. Baker, when you'd say, this is back when you used to actually hear yourself say these things like this. Excuse me, what time is it? Because you didn't have your phone in your pocket. Mr. Baker, what time is it? And he always made a thing of like, he'd shove the left arm out and then spin the wrist inward, spin it out to see the inside of his wrist for the thing. He'd say, it's about 10 till, but it was always a thing with him. And I remember thinking when I first saw that, I was like, oh, I bet that's just something some people do. And I just didn't know anybody yet. I've never met anyone since that had the watch on the inside. One guy.
No.
And he probably did it so that I'd talk about him in 2023. And so to that, Mr. Baker, you win.
Yeah, it's kind of like the pinky up when you're drinking. It's an affectation.
That's exactly what it is.
I bet Mr. Baker went home some days and thought, oh, not one person asked me what time it is
That's
today.
Exactly right. He just walked around.
I used to like the old Timex stretch bands, the ones, the classic Timex. Every once in a while, they would get so loose after time that they would flip around. But then it was time to get another one, right? Because,
That's exactly right. Hey, if you miss any part of the show today or any day, you can always catch up with us on the KQ Morning Show podcast. Our interviews, we have a lot of fun. Anywhere you get podcasts, anytime you want, track it down. And, of course, that's sponsored by, and Candace, I know you're hungry, but I'm going to make you say it.
Devani's.
Davani's Pizza and Hot Hoagies. Let's look back. How about a history lesson?
Sports go sports.
And music history.
Okay, Steve.
Bang! December 1st, 1997, Latrell Sprewell of the Golden State Warriors did not take too kindly to his coach, PJ Carlissimo, in practice. What Coach PJ said was, you need to make crisper passes. Those are the two words, crisper passes. Clearly setting something off in Latrell Sprewell's memory bank. He decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to beat my coach to death right now. He jumped on PJ Carlissimo, wrestled him to the ground, and then choked him with everything he had for 15 seconds before teammates could pull him off. This is an NBA star choking his coach out in the middle of practice for the coach suggesting his passes weren't quite crisp enough. A legendary moment in NBA history. The Warriors sent Sprewell packing 2 days later. They said, you're going to have to sit out a few games. The NBA said, no, that's not nearly enough. David Stern said he is out for 1 whole year. Wow.
Yeah, I remember that. He came here for a fun time.
He was a wolf.
Yeah, he was a wolf for a while. He didn't want his, what was it, $19 million because he had a family to feed.
I was going to say, he famously turned down a huge deal. He was insulted at the offer and then ended up paying for like a third of that or a fourth of that.
That's right.
Yeah, oops. Anyway.
The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.